Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Experience Podcast. My name's Stefan Boyle and I'm your host. So there's been a massive amount of discussion in recent years regarding property investing, obviously the huge growth in the property market and the wealth that can be achieved in it. So I'm really delighted today to be joined by my friend Paul McFadden, who's based up in Glasgow, and he's an expert in property development, trains people in property investor himself. So Paul, great. Thanks for being here. Great to see you, and welcome to the Experience Podcast.
Great. Thanks for having me on, Stefan.
So first thing is just be great to just have a bit of a background about what you do now, Paul, and how you help people.
So right now, my life is not as exciting as many people might think. So my number one job right now is to be the father of my two little daughters. So believe it or not, as much as I'm all about business, I'm all about working hard and building something, and it's going to take a lot of time at the beginning. I'm at a point in my life just now where our business is going through quite a lot of growth, and with that growth we are bringing on a lot of staff, a lot of really good people that can do a lot of the things that I was once doing in the business. But right now, the three main things that I do with business is the property education side of things, which we can dig more into if you've got an interest there. More of a passion project there. It's good, it's exciting, I love doing it, I got a lot of fulfillment out of it, and helping people, again, you know, it just helps people getting started in a property journey, moving their business to the next level. Lots of great stuff there. And the other two parts is I oversee our actual property developments. So in the early days, I would start off with adding to my portfolio. I'd start off with doing small, developments from single units. But nowadays we have some larger scale developments, with our largest development being 700 units, with football complexes, supermarket, whole commercial units attached to it. So that's kind of our biggest projects. Then we've got smaller ones at 5 units, 6 units. So that's what I kind of oversee, those type of developments. And the last little part that I do is the funding side of things. So we as a company, we fund developments as well. So I'll review some of the developments, look at if it's a deal, could be going as a joint venture partner, or potentially just lend the funds. So that's the three main things that I do. And again, as a director of a company, you would associate having a look at what all the different moving parts are, making sure things are moving. But that's pretty much my exciting life. But the girls, the other ones, that's tough business. Looking after those two, especially being so young.
Well, I've been there, got the T-shirt. That I've got 2 girls as well. So, but they're growing up a bit now, 19 and nearly 16. So, I know exactly what you're going through. It's fun times.
Yeah, for sure.
So, look, it's always interesting to see people who've had some success, and obviously, doing multi-million-pound deals is, amazing. But no one sort of leaves school and suddenly says, right, I'm going to suddenly start out, I'm going to do a £10 million property deal, or, multiple deals. How did you start out in your career yourself?
So I got started relatively young in the sense of getting out into the world of business. Now, I had no idea that the whole roller coaster was about to come, that was going to happen. I mean, you know yourself, there's so many ups and downs. But I came from, it's not a sob story, it just is what it is. It was my mum. And so I was brought up in a single parent household, my mum and 2 younger sisters. I never met my real dad for the first time. I met him like almost 6 years ago. So that was a whole new chapter of my life. But basically growing up in the south side of Glasgow in an area called Pollock, which has had a lot of regeneration now. But back in the day when I was younger, it was a tough place to be brought up. Lots of troublesome things happening. And I could have been a kid that went one or two directions. The direction that I did go, thank God that's the direction I did choose, which was by accident, or I could have ended up at the time being involved in a lot of stuff that a lot of people I was friends with at the time ended up getting themselves into trouble and associated with the wrong side of the law, which again, that was a common thing pretty much around that area at that time. Especially, as a big thing I always talk about just now these days, about the people you associate yourself with, the people you spend the most amount of time you spend with, is people who you'll start to become like. You'll know this yourself, the whole saying of, you'll surround yourself with 5 people closest to you is who you'll pretty much become. So back in the day, I I went and chased the money because my family were saying to me that, Paul, the money's in IT and computers. And I thought, okay, so I want the money. That was my big driving factor, because I had no money. So I went to college, and that was what took me down a different path, because that college took me out of the south side of Glasgow, took me to travel to go to college. And I got my HNC, HND in computing, and then went to university and got my degree. And I don't know how I got through all of that. I honestly don't know, because I wasn't the smartest. I found it very difficult to sit down and listen to lectures and to study and to, read lots of books. I found it difficult, especially now books. I love books, but not about computing, coding and, network servers and stuff, right? So it was tough at the time, but I just kept the eyes on the prize, and that was the money, right? Now, once I left university, I was quite lucky. This is all before the credit crunch and the recession, which were kind of still lingering and seeing a little bit of light from what we've gone through. And I got a job in IT relatively quickly. And then what happened is I started to realise that this isn't where I wanted to be. I was on a salary at £15,000 a year, which my family thought was unbelievable. But I looked fast forward, 20, 30 years, and I could see, well, what is the top earner in someone in this company? And I thought, well, probably £50,000, £60,000. And that's if they've worked for 20 plus years, they've committed themselves to the company, they've worked up the corporate ladder. And I thought, this just isn't for me. And I took my first entrepreneurial journey where I kicked off an events promotion company. Now, what I started to promote was different events for entertainers, hypnotists, comedians, all of this kind of stuff. And I got a little bit of a taste of it, getting out there and hustling with the promotion and handing out leaflets and the flyers and, using social media back in the day before Facebook. Well, Facebook was there, but it wasn't really anything like it is at the moment. I'm talking about days where it was like Bebo and things. That's how long ago it was, right, for social media. So I was using that stuff for events promotion. And we were filling events, and I was getting a profit share of the different events that get sold. And I started getting a taste of large sums of money dropping in. Now, it wasn't large sums of money, just so you know, it was only a few £1,000s here and there, but it was a large sum of money back in the day for me. And when that money started to drop in, I thought, great. I then handed in my notice in IT and went full-time into business.
How did that feel? Was that scary?
No, I don't actually think it was. What was more scary was when the money started to run up or run out, and I realised, okay, because at 19, I mean, what overheads do you have? You don't have a lot of overheads, do you? So when you're young and you don't have lots of overheads, you can bounce back from not having money quite easily. But it was around about that time where, I started to look at, okay, do I get my job back in IT, or do I look at something else? And it was at that time where I was online looking at every get-rich-quick scheme there possibly was. I wanted money. I just wanted money. So I was online. Hopefully some other people listening or watching can relate to that, because, that was me back in the day. I was looking for anything, right? And then one thing that kept on popping up was property. So the thing that was happening before the recession is if you buy a property, say it's worth £100,000, in 10 or less years, it will double in value, so it'll be worth 200. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, buy 10 properties, they're worth £100,000. By the time I'm 30, they're going to be worth 200,000. So that's a £1 million portfolio, turned into 2 million, sell them, I've made my £1 million. So that was my business plan. That was my roadmap to the £1 million. Now, the challenge I had is that I literally looked like I was 12 years old. I never had this beard, and I looked like I was 12 years old. I never had good credit. I already maxed out my loans, overdrafts, credit cards and all that stuff, and did what you do at university and spend that money on wild weekends, not invest in yourself. So that was my problem. And again, so I had what would normally stop most people or hold most people back from getting started. I had all of those things. But then what I did is I went along to a seminar in Glasgow. There's an American company called Russ Whitney, and they were promoting all of this idea about property investing, and they gave the same scenario that property prices are doubling every 7 years. They were saying, I was like, wow, I can make this a lot quicker. I still don't know how I'm going to buy my first property, but let me listen. And at the end of the seminar, they promoted a course that was £25,000. I thought, okay, that's a non-starter then, because I've got no money. But that was the bug, really, to get into property. And then what I started to do is I started to read, started to, go on lots of different little courses, mainly to do with mindset. So I invested in T. Harv Eker, which took me to Malaysia, Singapore, London a few times. And that there totally changed my life, mainly around the way I was thinking. It gave me the belief that Paul McFadden, this little kid from the south side of Glasgow with a troublesome background, with the mindset of, well, we're not supposed to earn that kind of money, to, wait a wee minute, I can do this, I can make money, I can really give this a go. It doesn't matter about my circumstances right now, it's not who I'm going to be going forward, all of this, all the mindset stuff. And that's what really helped me push forward to start looking into investing in property. And when I started in what we call property trading. So I thought, if I can't buy property myself, why don't I source a property and sell it on to an investor? Now, my business partner, who's been my business partner forever, Billy Farrell, I'm sure you've interviewed him as well as part of your podcast too. So Billy was awesome at marketing. So Billy and I, we joined together. He would do the marketing side of things. I would do the negotiation, the deal structure, and then I would go to networking events and find different investors, and I'd sell deals on to investors, and I'd make a few £1,000s. And right about this time here, I found myself taking a job back in construction this time. So I never went into IT, but I went into construction. It only lasted there a couple of years. And that was really my platform to allow me to, while I was doing the Harv Eker trainings, while I was doing some property trading, and then quite quickly again at the age of 22, went back full-time into the world of property. But this time I built up a portfolio of 10 properties. I had brought on joint venture partners when I was doing property trades and built up that cash flow, that pot of cash I was able to invest and build the portfolio. And I don't know why I had it stuck in my head. Once I've got 10 properties, that's it, I'm going full-time again, but this time it's going to be focused on the property business. So once that happened, I went straight into property. And again, that's been, 10 years now? And that's still been a 10-year of a roller coaster because the markets have been changing, lots of things have happened in between. And but it's been pretty crazy. So I guess to sum up from me getting started, it was ignorance is one, because a lot of people will normally hold people back from going and getting themselves educated to go and learn about, the courses that Harv Eker were doing was like Millionaire Mind Intensive, Enlightened Warrior Training Camp, Guerrilla Business Academy. You can't go and say to your family, oh, by the way, I'm going to Malaysia for Enlightened Warrior Training Camp.
That's the plot. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So I just didn't tell anybody anything. I just went and did it myself. And if anybody asked what I was doing, it was just a business seminar, I couldn't even tell it was personal development. Tony Robbins, what do you mean Tony Robbins? That guy, so for me, ignorance in the sense of not telling anybody what I was doing. And I just knew that, I always say this even to this day, you don't know what you don't know. And I have a thirst for finding out things that I don't know and then just taking ruthless action to get the results that you want. And it's been what I've been up to for the last, God knows how many years, and things are just continuing to evolve since then.
So what interests me, Paul, is it's always interesting. Now, you came from humble beginnings, as you said. Where do you think that drive came from? Was it just in you, or did you learn it, or did you read about someone and aspire to be, because you think about your kids now, where you came from and where your kids are coming from, it's a different place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Financially. Where do you think it came from in you? And then being aware of, bringing kids into the world and then, in a different financial position and different background and knowledge and mentorship from parenting perspective, how do you see that, where it came from you, and how do you want to transfer that knowledge, those skills, that learning onto your kids?
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me was I was running away from, and I wanted to run away from my reality back in the day. I hated my life. I genuinely hated my life. Now, not many 17, 18, 19-year-olds would actually say something like that. They're living the time of their life, partying, get out. If you're sensible, maybe doing a bit of traveling and stuff, who knows? But for me, I remember there's moments that I remember so clearly, like seeing how difficult it was for my mum just getting by. You know, we lived on microwave food. I'm talking about the same usual microchips and same stuff every single day. You know, if we did get fed, having hand-me-downs in terms of clothes and other stuff as well. I remember my first day at secondary school, and I had, I mean, it's a criminal offence if you don't have a branded pair of trainers, right? If you're going to secondary school.
Yeah.
And I never had a branded pair. I had a black pair of just shoes or whatever they were.
Yeah.
And I remember hiding. So I never really had things. And that was the drive, because the lack of and wanting a better life, never had a father in my life, you know? And that was a driving force for me when I wanted to make sure that when I do have kids, that I gave them everything. I don't mean just setting them up financially. I mean give them the best of me, to be a present father, to be there to support them, to lead by example, and all. Because ultimately, especially with daughters, you know yourself, is that they will end up with someone who's like their father. And if you set the right example and things, then I want to be the perfect example for them. So, I mean, I hated my circle. I mean, if you drove around Pollock these days, it's nice. It's got a big new shopping mall. It's been a lot of regeneration. But back in the day, it was one of the most depressing places ever. It really was. And I wanted away from all of that. You know, I wanted some of the nicer things. You know, I just knew I wanted money. And it's not the whole thing of this drive to have money. It's just that money can give you options to live a better life. There's no question, you know.
It gives you choices, doesn't it? Basically, you can choose
sure.
to be happy. We can choose to do anything you want in your life, but it just gives you that choice.
When I never had money in the bank, I was the most depressed person you would ever have met. Yeah. I like to spend money, and it doesn't mean that I am you know, I just throw money about. I'm very sensible with my money. I wasn't always like that, and that's one big lesson which I'll make sure that I pass on to the girls. And part of the whole financial education stuff that we do already is because I came into a lot of money relatively quickly. You know, by the age of 25, I made my first million, and by the age of 26, I'd lost my first million, right? So work that one out, right? Because when it's coming in, it's like a lottery win. You know, I never had the financial mindset of holding on to money. So when money was coming in, I thought that was never going to end. It was just coming in. I was buying new cars, new house, with the hot tubs, the cinema rooms, surround sound throughout the house, taking friends and all that stuff on holidays, splashing the cash, buying bottles of champagne. It was like 500 quid a bottle at nights out. Crazy stuff, just stupid stuff that you do, or you think that you're supposed to do when you start committing to money. Thankfully, I invested a large portion of it, which is the only good thing that came from that. But the bottom line is that I saw how quick it can come in, like a lottery win for those that don't have that financial mindset of the we call it the wealth thermostat. So if you don't have a wealth thermostat of a £1 million earner, and that windfall comes in very quickly, it'll go back down to wherever your wealth thermostat is situated at. So mine's with a lot of money come in, but came all the way back down. And then through that learning is where I started to, you know, manage my finances, invest properly, and make better decisions. But I like to spend money without a shadow of a doubt. And I love that you've got choices and options to go disappear and do things and not having to worry about stuff, you know?
I think what's interesting is, I'm sure there's people, whether you're still in contact with them or I don't know, but from your past, who started out in a similar background to you, but took a very different path to you. What do you think differentiates you from your older friends, or whether they're still friends now, you know, those people in your past? What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still friends with, not a lot, two people. That's how much I can remember from you know, early days. One being my business partner, Billy. So we were friends from, our two mindsets were very similar. And my other friend, you know, I play football with him, not all the time, but sometimes. And you know, I think that most people take themselves out of the game all the time. You know, we don't believe that we're worthy enough to go and do something. You know, we've got this inner battle every single day. It's frightening, you know, and because of the people we surround ourselves with. And that was the difference. If you're asking what's the difference between me and my friends, as an example, or other people from my upbringing, is that I put myself in uncomfortable situations. And through those uncomfortable situations, I met other people. And when I'm surrounded with different people, they help me raise my game. And when you raise your game, mathematically, if that's a thing, or scientifically, if you want to put it that way, it's just impossible not to become like the people you spend the most time around. So, and it's uncomfortable at the beginning. It's uncomfortable when you walk into a room. You know, we always tell this story. It's a cracking story. There's an experiment done where there's an interviewer, and they put this job title out, this job role, and there's loads of people reading it. And the people who are applying for this job, they're reading the job description and saying, I can do this. This is perfect. This is me. I am so qualified. I've got the job. No problem whatsoever. And then they're sitting in this kind of room. There's like 10 people. And then the woman comes out, the PA for the person who's going to do an interviews, and he says, okay, we've made a mistake. The job that you're going for, it is what it is. That's all the same. But it's not a £50,000 a year salary, it's a £500,000 a year salary. We've missed out a zero. Then instantly you can start to see people's faces going, oh my God, why am I here? I shouldn't be here. Now, they are qualified for the job. They could do this with their eyes shut, but they started self-sabotaging and taking themselves out of the game, and they went into the, and some of them got up and left. The ones who went into the interview started, talking themselves out of it, started thinking it was a lot bigger than it actually was. And no one went in and owned that interview because they're not at that level. They're uncomfortable. Now, what I would have done if that was me, I'd go in and go, just wing it and see what happens, and just act as if I was supposed to have the position and then deal with whatever happens next. And I think that was what I did in the early days. I put myself in very uncomfortable situations where I felt like an imposter, and that's what those people in that room felt like, an imposter. I shouldn't have been here. Is it other people? Do they know it was £500,000 or what? They start talking themselves out of it, don't think they're worthy enough. And that's why people don't take risks. That's why people don't stretch their comfort zone. That's why people say, oh, that's not for me. That's why people won't go and learn something new. That's why they'll put barriers up. Say, I'll do whatever it takes, except if it's at the weekend, then I can't do it then. Or I'll do whatever it takes, but if it starts snowing, well, I'm not be able to do it then. Yeah. So we have this whole bullshit to ourselves that we'll do whatever it takes, but then we have clauses that actually stops us doing from whatever it takes. And I think that's what makes a big difference in how I process things, how I do things. I mean, honestly, I feel like, and listen, I've failed multiple times, but I honestly have the attitude that I can't fail at anything. If I do fail at something, I look for the lesson, and I like to learn quick. I don't want to make the same mistake over and over, so the quicker I can learn from a mistake, the way I look at it, I'm maybe going a little bit of ranting here, Stefan, but the way I look at it is that life's a game. Go and fuck up, go and make mistakes, go and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Do as much as that as you can, because the way I look at it is if I can make all the mistakes and I can learn from all of this, and I can teach my daughters on how they can fast track their journey even quicker. Now, they'll still make mistakes, because even though you learn from other people's mistakes, sometimes we still need to experience those mistakes or those experiences ourselves to really truly learn from them. But I like to learn fast. Go and do something. What's the worst that can happen? I mean, I know too many people. I don't have anyone close to me like who's passed away, but I know people who are not family, but who have died relatively young. And all I think about is that, I mean, come on, life is so short. Just go for it. Just go for things. And it's easy for me to say that. It really is. But this has been a learned process over the last 10 or so years.
I lost, without being a sob story, but I lost my best mate at 27 years old. A few weeks before my wedding even, and that's quite a humbling experience to see that, because, it's 20 odd years past that, but you think, well, this guy, Matt, has missed all those years. And it's so true, actually. You think, God, every birthday, Christmas, event, his anniversary, etc., you see, that, pile up over time. You think, you're absolutely right. Do you know what? It isn't a rehearsal. You have just got to go for it. And I think so many people are scared to let go. And it takes me back to a point where you mentioned you started to book these trips, with T. Harv Eker and all those other things, but you didn't want to tell people. Society, which I think for me comes back to our education system, doesn't teach people to have that broad-minded approach that once you've learned Latin and algebra and how to analyse Shakespeare and all this other rubbish, that's going to help you. You've done your education and then go and get a job and learn there. So there's so much more to learn, isn't there, that is not covered in our education system. And I'd be interested in your thoughts now on further education, because I see this huge sort of academic deflation of everyone's got a degree. They've got like a 2-2 in, American politics or something. And unless you want to go and be a journalist in American politics, what's the point in going into property with that degree? Yeah. What does it do for you? Whereas you chose what you wanted to learn about and invested in yourself. But there's a huge problem with not enough people doing that. I think they've kind of, I've got my GCSEs or A levels, or maybe they quit there, maybe they go to uni and come out and kind of expecting the world to owes them a living. I've got my degree, I've got 40k of student debt, I now want to have an amazing job, and then they struggle. And it's, what do you think about the education system, and particularly further education? And if your kids at that stage now where maybe they're 16 or 18, what do they do? How would you advise them, go into the big wide world at that age now? Do you go to uni because it's a great laugh, there's a good piss up and a good social life, and but they don't know what they want to do yet? Because I've seen that with my daughter, doesn't really know what she wants to do specifically, so kind of choosing the route to go to uni to kind of delay a decision. But what's she doing? What's the point of that? What do you think about that?
Uni was good for me because it took me out of my current surroundings. That was the only good thing, because I surround myself with new people that are a lot older than me, and it just changed me from that point of view, because I was a very sheltered kid. And the reason I mean sheltered is because my first ever holiday, I was like 20 or something before I ever took a holiday abroad. We never had money. So when you're very sheltered, you don't really get to travel much out with your own kind of local area or what. So for me, university did get me out. It allowed me to become a lot more independent, even though I was independent from such a young age, because, just the way it was. But it really made me feel like I'm learning more of the world. I mean, the first time I ventured out of Glasgow, other than your usual trips, round about Scotland or whatever, was down to London for a Harvester event. That's how crazy it was, before I was even able to get away from Scotland. But university, I mean, I'm not against people getting degrees and all that stuff. I think you learn a lot from it. My wife and I, we talk about that we're pretty much certain. Now, we've got many years before we make a decision, but we're pretty certain on homeschooling our girls. Okay. And I mean, they're already in classes already. I mean, Aria, she's only 16 months. She understands Spanish, English, and she signs. So she gives all the signs. I mean, she was at Sing this morning. She does these classes. They're at classes every single day, and when days that they don't have something, we've got a lot of time to spend with them. We're really helping them grow into what they want to be. Now, just to give you something, I mean, I love, and I'm fascinated with technology and how fast things are evolving and growing. Like, I could sit and talk on hours about all of this kind of stuff. Now, Jackie Ma, the owner of Alibaba, the richest man in China, right? So he has just come out there, and he's getting, it's a bit controversial, but he's talking about how he's going to make tens of thousands of people unemployed. And he says that the reason is because robots and technology will do your job a lot better with artificial intelligence and all this kind of stuff. Now, with blockchain technology, I'm not going to get into cryptocurrency and all that stuff, that's for another day, but the blockchain technology is going to replace a lot of, accountancy systems, lawyers, I mean, it could reduce the amount of people that are in the government because of the amount of roles that's required just to keep data and stuff. I mean, it's frightening what that will do and how that will disturb the marketplace as well. So if all of this is going to be inevitable, it's all going to happen, then for me, I mean, when I got my degree in computing and get my first job in IT, the stuff that I was learning at university was so far out of date, it was frightening.
Really?
It was, I mean, frightening. The operating systems they were doing, the way they were doing networking. Nowadays, they were teaching you how to do different type of networking stuff, and then when you get the job, it's like, no, the box does it all for you. Just plug the things in, and like, oh my god, what's the point of learning all of that stuff and how you mask IPs? I'm trying to talk about like I know what I'm talking about now, but I forgot about it all. But because technology and stuff's evolving so fast, what I would be saying to people is that we need to become more social. We need to embrace social media as the way and the medium to get ourselves out there. You've got no excuse not to educate yourself with the likes of YouTube and many other social media platforms and also online programs you could be taking. The crazy statistic is by 2020, they reckon the likes of Facebook and all that kind of stuff, they reckon that it will be over 90% of consumption will be video content. So if we know all of this, and I'm looking at like my daughters, I want them to feel comfortable and confident on camera, because it took me many, many years to feel that way. I want them to feel good and comfortable about self-promotion. A lot of people have this whole thing about, oh, we can't promote yourself, Why not? We should be promoting ourselves all the time with confidence if we believe in ourselves and what we're offering. It just basically being able to communicate. Just simple social skills to connect with people and put themselves out there, to utilize social media. It doesn't mean stuck to our phones and iPads and all that stuff. It just means using and utilizing technology. And more importantly, that realize that we're all marketers first. That's one skill that will be difficult to replace in terms of someone's with their own ability to market themselves, and realize the future is no longer, it's already seen a shift where no longer is it the business that you're building up the brand. There's only so many Virgins and Alibabas and, Ubers and, your bigger type companies, right? Your Teslas and stuff. There's only so many of those. But what you start to see pop up all over the place is personal brands, and I mean, you just need to look at someone like Gary Vaynerchuk. He is the Grant Cardone. These guys are just self-marketers, self-promoters. They're the brand. Sure, they've got multiple companies underneath them, but the future is those who can become the brand, personal brand. And I just want to make sure that the girls, and listen, I want to have an extended family. Hopefully I'll have a boy in the future as well. I'll end up like Billy, my best mate, who's got 4 girls. Crazy, But with that in mind, I mean, that's what I'm always talking about, and what people should be doing and evolving and looking at the future a little bit. And it's a bit hard to do that when they're young, but when they do get a bit more older and they're taking an interest in things, start to look and go, well, the real option I only see is having, is not having a job for someone else. You're working for someone else. Now, there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur, working within an organisation that's going somewhere. I'm all for that. But truly, we have so many tools and resources at our fingertips that we could all, if we just allow ourselves just to take action, move forward and learn as we go, to make silly money. I mean, silly money. I
think it's interesting with this kind of self-promotion that some people deem as ego and very self-indulgence. Yeah. And I was listening to a podcast this morning, actually, by a guy called Stefan Boyle, and it's called A Diary of a CEO. And he's really interesting. He's 25 years old, and in 3 years, he's built a business called Social Chain from startup to 200 employees. I think he's got in 5 countries or 5 offices around the world. But his analogy is quite simple, actually. He says that the reason for his success, it's a social media agency. There's plenty of those around. But what has got him success is it's like going to a pub and being that guy who dances on the table. He said half the people in the pub think, what an idiot. God, I can't stand that guy. The other half go home and tell all their friends about it and go, what a guy. He was up there dancing. Next week we're going back and we're going to dance with him. And the whole point is that if you're brave enough to put yourself out there, you find some people who just want to shoot you down all the time by being this big head and ego and all the rest of it. But also you'll find people who resonate with you, get it, and want to dance with you, if you like. So, the pub's your marketplace. You've got to stand out. And you're right. I think so many people, I mean, my kids don't use Facebook. They use Instagram to browse the world of Lamborghinis and luxury lifestyles, but they use Snapchat all the time. So they're kind of used to being on video all the time, but then to translate that into a real sort of business purpose and creating stuff that you put out into the world is a whole nother level, isn't it? And do you find some people are still very self-conscious to actually do that, to go, like you said, it took years. Same for me. When I first went on camera, it was like, oh God, can't stand it. Can't stand my voice, how I look, and eventually you just have to think, I'm stuck with this face, and this voice, the rest of it. don't want any pity, but you know what I mean? It's, you just have to own it, don't you, if you like, and be brave and put yourself out there and show some personality. Because so many people just think, oh, you see some videos, don't you? And they're like, oh my God, it's so boring. And they don't want to, it's monotone and it's almost just vanilla, bland dullness. But if you're brave and you show personality, you do stand out, don't you?
If you listen to my videos or watch my videos in the early days, they were awful. Yeah. Awful. I mean, I sometimes go back and share them with our students to show, look, if this guy here, if you can watch this here, if this guy here can do it, come on, you've got no excuses. And what we do, a big part of our training programs is incorporate the whole getting yourself out there, the personal brand, utilising social media for business. I mean, we've got people raising millions online. We've got people doing multi-million pound deals online, making tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds. And this is people who less than only a few months ago wouldn't even put their face, online, or wouldn't even be that vocal. But we're just, and then when they start seeing the results and put themselves out there, you're right though. I mean, I get attacked, especially on LinkedIn. I get attacked every day. It's comical. It really is. So you might even put a positive post out, and somehow when people think LinkedIn's a professional platform, for some reason you still get attacked on that platform. It's worse than Facebook and stuff, all right?
Yeah.
But the business and stuff that can be generated on LinkedIn is frightening, and all social media platforms, So I just believe that we just need to put ourselves out. We need to stop overthinking it. We need to realise that the people that want to dance with you, the same analogy as you just shared, they will resonate to you. And that's all you need. You don't need to appease the masses. I mean, that's something that I learned from one of my mentors, is that I can't give you the recipe of for success, but I can give you the recipe of failure. And that is to try and please everyone. And that's what we need to realise, is that we can't become people pleasers. We need to put ourselves out there and realise that those who like what we're sharing will become clients or do business with, or whatever it may be. And for others, they'll either come later on down the line, or they'll just phase out in your life. And that is life,
So I'm interested. I mean, you spoke about, earning £1 million, losing £1 million. Is that a particular experience, or is there something else that was like a pivotal moment where it was almost like a light bulb? Wow, if I keep doing this, it's going to go wrong. If I keep doing this, it's going to go right. Is there something in your career or life in the past, whatever period of time, that you think there's a pivotal moment where I kind of got it?
Well, again, in the early days for me, when that money started to roll in, I was doing a lot of package deals, which you would source a deal, package up and sell, and I was making on average £10,000 a deal. Sometimes it was more, sometimes it was less. And I mean, we were selling so many. Our lead generator machine was just going through the roof, and I was doing bridge of finance. I was lending people funds as well, which again was very lucrative. So I put all my eggs in the one basket and focused solely on that one business. And then I got lazy. I mean, at 25, when you're raking it in, bringing in a lot of money, 100 grand, give or take, every month, and then it went from, I mean, I was doing that still in a 2-bedroom cottage flat in Cordon, in the south side of Glasgow, because it just came so fast. It just happened so crazy. It was just nuts. And because I was literally attached to my phone with a cable to an extension cable, walking around the living room making phone calls every single day. That's what my life was. And because it happened so fast, I started to upgrade my life very quickly. Much bigger house, kitting it out, spending money. And then I actually took the foot off the gas, thinking that I brought someone on board to run the business effectively, and thought that he was going to do all the work and he was getting paid triple what he was normally getting paid to do that. And I thought it was never going to end. And the way that we were able to do bridge and all that stuff, that started to evolve and change. And during that time, where normally if it was happening today, I would have pivoted and get focused on other things or have multiple streams on the go. But back then, I was too busy spending the money, going out, partying, doing all the crazy stuff, And because of that, I took my eye off the ball, and I took a year out. When I when I was at an all-time low, and I still had money in the bank, but when the kind of British side of things and the market started plateauing a lot, I took almost a year out. I mean, what 26-year-old do you know needs to take a year out? I mean, that's just outrageous. You're in the peak of your life, and I had to take a time out, which is just crazy. More so just feeling sorry for myself. And through that time is when I realised that, wait a minute, I know something here. Just because I failed in terms of having a plan B or having multiple streams or relying on this other guy, or I started learning from the lessons. And this is a whole thing that I have done since then. I do the whole plan, do, review and improve method. So most people don't even plan for what they want. And the key is that the plan part is fine. The doing part, most people can do. It's as if they're doing the right thing or not. But most people, and when I say most people, almost everyone doesn't do the review. So I start doing reviews on everything that I've done, the good, the bad, the ugly. How can I learn from those? And I started to realise, well, look, listen, I just need to get back into things. I can build this back up again. I can make sure that I don't go crazy with my money anymore. I can make more, better financial decisions. I can invest right. I can diversify. And I think that's why now we have multiple different companies in different industries now. And things are growing from strength to strength, and I know when to pivot a lot quicker. My eyes on the ball, and I'm observing and I'm watching a lot more, and bringing on the key people. So when I look at property, if you buy a property, it might be run down, you renovate it, it adds value, then you go and sell it, make a profit, or you rent it out, whatever. I look at people as an asset as well. They're a bit rough around the edges to start off with. They need a bit of TLC. Then once you've renovated that person as such, they become an asset, even better. They might make some mistakes at the beginning, and then before you know it, they become an income generator for you as well. And, and I've looked at that with the businesses we're involved in, and things just keep on growing. And that was the big moment for me, because through that time with the person who I'm into business with to run the business, and many other times having business partners, I mean, I've walked away from a large property portfolio that I had with someone else. It was all in his name, but I had 50% ownership. I walked away from that to keep the business and let him keep the portfolio. That's another story for another day. And I don't hold any regrets to that. But I was quick to cut things, because I don't want stuff invading my mind space. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, what about this? What about that problem? I want to just get rid of noise, get rid of the toxic noise, so I can focus where I want to go, and realise that that's just tiny in the grand scheme of things of where I'm going. And then up until about 4 years ago, I got over the whole idea of, well, look, not everyone's like that. Let's bring on the right staff, let's find the right business partners. And even Billy and I were doing a lot of business together. We never really formally came together until 4 years ago. And when we came together, things have gone from strength to strength. I realised that staff do make mistakes, but they're a very worthwhile investment, and some will come, some will go, all of that kind of stuff. And that was a pivotal moment for me to realise that I don't need to know anything. Really, I just need to steer the ship, because there's much better people than me out there that can do all the different moving parts, and I need to allow to put my ego aside and let someone else run with certain things. And that was the most powerful moment for me, because when we started to do that, especially over the last 2 years, our businesses just went, frightening. I mean, it's just like boom, through the roof, on all areas. When we start removing ourselves, we don't realise, most business owners don't realise that you are the biggest blockage in your company and your business. And it's necessary at the beginning, because you're the janitor, you're the administrator, you're the cleaner, you're the CEO, you're the marketer, you're every single thing. But sooner you can take yourselves away from all of that stuff and focus on one or two little things, and allow other people to help you grow your business, then ultimately is where it takes you to a different level.
Like it. Now, I think one thing I've learned that very much resonates with what you're talking about is complacency, where the minute you think you've got every box ticked, everything's working, and then you just take your eye off the ball, that's when something hits you on the back of the head that you weren't expecting. And I think it's just how you manage that, how you keep on top of it, and how you're almost expecting the unexpected. That's the thing. Every time in my career that I thought, right, this is just how I want it, is when it's the worst things happen. I think, and it's when we're all fighting and battling and, keeping going, that's when it's okay. And we've got an analogy in the business where even if we think, like from a football point of view, if you think you're 4-0 up at half time, you come out in the second half like you're 4-0 up, you end up being 4-3 or 4-4 or worse. But if you come out like you're 2-1 down, you've got more chance of keeping going to make it 5-0, 6-0. I think that's the analogy I use in business, where just keep pushing, not, don't become complacent. Do you agree?
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, another thing as well, and I always say to people, is that we need to take a different view to problems, challenges, obstacles, and issues. Because being a business owner, being in business, you're going to have all of those things every day. There's this illusion that okay, well, if I could just sort these problems, then that's it. It's all good. No, because once you sort those, the next wave comes. You're never clear. There's always new problems, challenges, obstacles. And if an obstacle is sitting right in front of you just now, and what I like to do is rate it out of 10. Now, you might rate it currently as an 8 out of 10. That's an 8 out of 10 obstacle. It's going to be a big challenge. You don't know how I'm going to deal with it. But somehow you get over it if you go head first right into it and just go for it, pull in resources or whatever you need to do, get creatively thinking about how you're going to actually solve that problem. And what happens is a year from now, you look back at that same challenge you had there, that same obstacle, and you go, well, that's no longer an 8 out of 10, that's 2 out of 10. So that allows you to grow. And if we look at this and welcome problems, challenges, obstacles, and issues into our business, whatever that may be, and rather go, that's a nightmare, and start bitching and moaning and complaining, which will lead you to be a victim. And victims don't get anywhere in life. You want to come from a place of empowerment to own your shit, own the problems, own the obstacles, and take them on, and you will grow and become a much bigger person that can handle the more wealth. Because if you think, everyone wants to make the £1 million and so forth, but I can guarantee you this, that when you start earning a lot more money, you will have bigger problems, challenges, obstacles, and it comes. It's in a direct proportion of your income. And we need to embrace that stuff and realise it helps us become better people, and it allows us not to get complacent. So we keep our eye on the game and we're pushing forward and growing. And I ultimately think that, look, even if you're in your 60s and 70s, you've still got, if you're fit enough, sound mind, you've still got plenty of energy to be pushing hard. Come on. People underestimate what you can do in only a few short years. It's frightening.
I absolutely agree, because when you hear people say, oh, I'm too old to do this, that, or the other, I think, well, when does that happen? I'm probably too old to maybe start playing football, but then there's ways around it. A friend of my dad is in his 70s, he plays football, but it's walking football. He's never stopped. And I think as long as you've got air in your lungs, you can do stuff, can't you? Obviously, there's a degree of limitation as well, but as long as you've got that right mindset of, I can make this happen, I can do something, I can get involved and be responsible for myself, I think that is the attitude and the mindset. And it takes me back to your very first point, where you took yourself away, you didn't want to tell people about it, but you knew that was the right thing to do, just to broaden that mental thinking, where so many people have got that, it's not my fault, it's the government's fault, it's the economy's fault, it's a recession, the credit crunch, or my boss's fault, or someone else's fault. Well, actually, you're responsible for you, and that makes a difference, really, I think, in life. It's just thinking bigger, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time out today. Now, for people listening who want to know more about what you do, how do they find you? How do they make contact with you?
Great. They can go to paulmcfaddenwealth.com and then connect with me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. But all my info is on that page if you want to dive in and have a little bit more of a look at what we're up to.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again. And anyone listening, if you really enjoyed this episode, please click a like, click share, put some stars on iTunes if you like as well. But thank you so much for listening, and it's been fantastic. Thank you, Paul. Have a great day, and talk to you soon.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paul. That was absolutely superb. Really appreciate that.
Pleasure. That was good fun.
So, yeah, I'll drop your line, just let you know when it goes live. It's probably going to be Monday week because it always goes out on a Monday. But yeah, I'll let you know. So awesome.
Okay, great stuff. We'll keep you posted and we'll catch up soon.
Good stuff. Thanks, mate. All the best.
Okay, take care.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye.